Have you ever paused to ask yourself if you're praying the right way? Perhaps you've whispered countless prayers, seeking comfort, guidance, or solutions. But here's the truth. Prayer isn't just about asking for what you want. It's about connecting with God in a way that transforms your heart and life. Let me assure you of one thing. The power of prayer is real. And when you learn to pray as Jesus taught, you'll unlock a life-changing connection with God. It's not about saying the right words or following a strict formula. It's about sincerity, faith, and understanding the principles Jesus revealed. Take a moment to reflect. Are your prayers filled with doubt, rushed demands, or even frustration? If so, you're not alone. Many of us approach prayer as if it's a checklist, expecting immediate results. But the teachings of Jesus show us that prayer is much deeper. It's a conversation with the Creator, a way to align yourself with His will and find peace amidst life's chaos. Think about this. What if your prayers could bring you the clarity you've been searching for, the strength to overcome challenges, and the peace to face any storm? Imagine how your life could change if you truly connected with God in every prayer. In this video, we'll uncover the secrets of the power of prayer as taught by Jesus Himself. We'll explore the common mistakes most people make and discover practical steps to pray with faith, trust, and gratitude. Whether you're facing financial difficulties, broken relationships, or personal anxieties, the principles we'll discuss can guide you to a deeper and more fulfilling relationship with God. So, before we begin, let's make one thing clear. Prayer isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. If you're ready to transform your prayer life and experience the peace and strength that come from truly connecting with God, stay with us. Together, we'll uncover the wisdom and truth Jesus shared, and it might just change your life forever. Many people come to prayer with sincerity, but common mistakes often prevent them from fully experiencing its transformative power. One of the most frequent issues is rushing into requests without taking the time to worship and recognize who they are speaking to. Prayer often turns into a list of demands rather than an act of reverence. Instead of beginning with gratitude and awe, many people jump straight into asking for what they want or need. Another mistake is treating prayer as a way to persuade God to fulfill personal desires. This approach focuses solely on one's own wishes, ignoring the importance of aligning with God's greater plan. Jesus taught us to pray, "Thy will be done," reminding us to surrender our desires and trust in His wisdom. Doubt and worry also hinder the effectiveness of prayer. Many pray out of fear or anxiety, allowing their concerns to overshadow their faith. They ask for help, but don't truly believe that God will answer, which blocks the peace that prayer is meant to bring. Additionally, some people unknowingly hold on to resentment, creating a barrier between themselves and God. The Bible teaches that forgiveness is a two-way street. We must forgive others to receive forgiveness from God. Lastly, prayer can sometimes become a performance, focused on impressing others rather than truly connecting with God. Jesus emphasized that prayer should be personal, sincere, and heartfelt, not a public display. By recognizing and addressing these mistakes, we can approach prayer with authenticity, faith, and humility, transforming it into a deep and meaningful connection with God. Teachings of Jesus and related biblical stories. The teachings of Jesus provide profound insights into the purpose and practice of proper prayer. One of the most foundational lessons comes from the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6:9-13. Jesus begins by teaching us to address God with reverence. "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name." This reminds us that prayer must start with worship and acknowledgement of God's holiness and supreme power. Another important lesson is found in Matthew 26:39, when Jesus faced immense suffering in the Garden of Gethsemane. He prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." This illustrates the importance of surrendering personal desires to God's will. trusting that His plan surpasses our understanding. Even in the face of deep anguish, Jesus exemplified faith and obedience. A powerful biblical story that illustrates Jesus' teaching is the parable of the unforgiving servant in Matthew 18:23-35. The servant, forgiven a tremendous debt by his master, refused to forgive a fellow servant who owed him a much smaller amount. Jesus used this parable to emphasize the necessity of forgiveness in prayer. As He taught in Matthew 6:14-15, "If you forgive others their sins, your heavenly Father will also forgive you." These teachings and stories remind us that prayer is not merely about speaking to God, but about aligning our hearts with His will through worship, trust, and forgiveness. When we apply these principles, prayer becomes more than words. It becomes a pathway to profound peace and transformation. Personal insights and real-life examples. Prayer has always been a personal journey for me, and over time, I have learned just how powerful it can be when done with sincerity and faith. I remember a time when I was under immense financial pressure. My prayers back then were filled with panic, desperately asking God to solve my problems immediately. But nothing changed. Things only began to turn around when I shifted my approach to focus on worship and trust. Instead of pleading, I started my prayers with gratitude. Lord, thank you for the blessings I already have. I trust in your plan for my life. That simple change brought peace to my heart, even though my circumstances hadn't yet improved. Another lesson I learned was during a time when I struggled to forgive someone who had deeply hurt me. For months, I carried resentment, and it only made me feel heavier. Inspired by the parable of the unforgiving servant, I began to pray for the strength to release that anger. I prayed, "Lord, help me let go of this bitterness. I forgive them as you have forgiven me." Over time, I felt a heavy burden lifted from my heart, and my prayers became much more meaningful. These experiences taught me that prayer is not about demanding immediate results. It is about trusting God, aligning with His will, and being willing to wait for His timing. By focusing on worship, trust, and forgiveness, I found peace in situations where I had once felt completely hopeless. Prayer isn't just a request, it is a relationship, a lifeline that connects us to God's grace and guidance. Practical and specific guidance for prayer. If you want to make your prayer life more meaningful and effective, here are some practical steps you can apply. Begin your prayer with worship and gratitude. Don't rush straight into personal requests. Instead, take a moment to acknowledge God's greatness and thank Him for the blessings in your life. For example, you can say, "Lord, you are holy and faithful. Thank you for my health, my family, and your guidance in my life." Starting with gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to the abundance of blessings you already have. Align your heart with God's will. When presenting your requests, try saying, "Lord, if it is your will, please guide me in this situation." This approach helps you trust in God's plan rather than clinging to your own desires. If surrendering feels difficult, pray for strength and faith to trust Him more deeply. Incorporate forgiveness into your prayers. Take a moment to reflect on any grudges or resentment you might be holding. Pray, "Lord, I forgive those who have hurt me, and I ask for your help to let go of this bitterness." Forgiveness not only frees your heart from emotional burdens, but also strengthens your connection with God. Trust in God's timing. If your prayers don't receive immediate answers, remind yourself to be patient. Pray, "Lord, I trust that you are working in ways I cannot see. Help me to wait with faith." Patience allows you to rest in God's perfect plan. By following these steps, your prayers will become more focused, sincere, and transformative. Practical examples of prayer. Points. A common mistake in prayer is rushing into requests without taking time to worship. Imagine starting a conversation with a friend. By immediately asking for a favor, it feels impersonal, doesn't it? Prayer works the same way. Begin by acknowledging God's greatness. You might say, Lord, you are my creator, my protector, and my guide. I worship you for who you are. This not only honors God, but also prepares your heart for a deeper connection with Him. Another issue is treating prayer like a wish list. Instead of asking God to fulfill every desire, focus on aligning your will with His. For example, if you're praying about a job opportunity, try saying, Lord, if this is the right path for me, please open this door. If not, guide me to where you want me to be. This act of surrender creates space for God to work in ways that exceed your expectations. Forgiveness is another essential element that many people often overlook. If you're holding on to resentment, it can block your prayers. Think of a time when someone hurt you. Instead of clinging to the pain, bring it to God in prayer. Say, Lord, I forgive them, even though it's hard. Help me let go of this pain and walk in your grace. Letting go of resentment frees your heart and brings peace and healing. Finally, trust in God's timing. Answers don't always come immediately, and that's perfectly okay. When you feel impatient, remind yourself to trust His plan. Pray, Lord, I know you see the bigger picture. Help me to be patient and trust in your perfect timing. Small shifts like these in how you approach prayer can lead to significant spiritual growth and deep transformation. Unlock the power of prayer, building a deep connection with God. As we explored today, prayer is not merely about asking for what we need, but about building a deep and meaningful relationship with God. By beginning with worship, aligning with His will, practicing forgiveness, and trusting His timing, we open our hearts to receive His guidance, peace, and blessings. Remember, prayer is not about perfection or eloquence, it's about sincerity and faith. Imagine how your life could change if you prayed with these principles in mind. Instead of feeling anxious or distant, you would experience a peace and clarity that only comes from His presence. Let your prayers become moments of reflection, trust, and renewal for your soul. If this message resonates with you, take a moment today to put these steps into practice. Find a quiet space, even if it's just for a few minutes, and speak to God from your heart. You don't need perfect words, just honesty and faith. Trust that God is listening, He loves you, and He is working in ways you cannot yet see. Thank you for joining me on this journey of discovering the true power of prayer. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need encouragement today. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more meaningful content, guidance, inspiration, and practical steps to deepen your faith and spiritual growth. Let's continue walking this path together, trusting that God has incredible plans for each of us.